Hey everybody, I'm in my kitchen trying to cook dinner. I just wanted to show you something, how it's like to have a leak when you're trying to do stuff. You see, I'm like here standing up trying to cook dinner, and if you could see, it leaked all over the chair, all over the floor, and I have a plug in my nose, so even if I take it out, you can literally see it. Yeah, brain fluid. That's brain fluid. It just leaked all over the floor. You can see there. All over my chair. This is my life right now. This is my second cerebral spinal fluid leak. Tomorrow I go to my doctor. If you can see, I don't know, I can get the light here, but you see it dripping. It's just constantly dripping. It's like a leaky water faucet, and I just keep getting paper towels and sticking them up my nose because that's basically the only thing you can do. So tomorrow I get all my test results, and then they give me the game plan of what's going down for cranial leak 2.0. You know, it's not as bad as it was last time. It's just very annoying because, you know, obviously you don't want to be cooking and leaking brain fluid everywhere. And I have very limited time standing up because when your brain fluid leaks out, there's like no fluid up here. It's all like you see how my face is all swollen and my like here is all swollen and even my stomach gets like really swollen because I either drink it, which sounds gross. It goes either down the back of my throat if I'm like reclining a little back so it don't go into my nose, or it fills up in my sinuses here. So my face is all like really cold all the time because it like fills up with water, and then when I lay down, those sinuses all of a sudden drain out and it just comes like shooting out of my nose like a squirt gun. It's really, really strange. I really don't know what else to say. I was pretty well for 3 years after my first cranial surgery. I do have a herniation on this side, which is leaking now. The last time they fixed this side, back here in the back by the ethmoid sinus in the cruciform. The first cranial leak was very bad. I had a lot of nerve damage. Like I lost my sense of smell and taste. I never got that back. I lost the hearing in this ear. I still have papilledema in my eye. It's between 1 and 2. Even though I'm leaking, it's still 1 or 2. And the doctors are coming to the conclusion that it could be from the optic nerves trying to repair themselves, and I have something that's called gliosis, which is basically scarring of the nerve tissue, like when they try to fix themselves. So there's still pressure there, regardless of whether I'm leaking or not. And on this side, I have this like meningocele or dehiscence or herniation of the meninges, which kind of goes down here. So tomorrow I have to go because I have the wishing in this side still. Like the vein here on my neck is always like pulsating. When I lay down, I can hear like my heart beating in my head. And on this side, the only thing I can hear is high-pitched screeching. So like right now, I'm on constant headache because like I don't have enough liquid in my head, and I'm always drinking water. I carry a water bottle around everywhere, Gatorade, anything to kind of replenish. You know, I don't really know how they fix this, you know, because how are you able to fix the dura mater in your brain? You know, it's like a really leathery type of membrane. It's like a balloon that gets a pinprick in it, and it's really hard to locate where that's at. They can find where your skull is cracked at from the erosion of the constant pressure and water dripping and leaking, just like, you know, like in a river, the rocks get smooth and, you know, the glass goes from jagged to like rocks or crystals. Or if you have a leak in your faucet, how your faucet will slowly like rust. That's basically what happens to your head or your spine or wherever you have the cerebral spinal leak at, because the pressure will keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and the leakage will keep eroding it, breaking it down, and finally it'll find the weakest link and it'll just crack. And it sounds just like your knuckles cracking. You can literally hear it. It just goes behind your nose. You can feel it at night, especially when the pressure's higher and you're laying down. You can feel it shifting around. It's a weird feeling. It's like, you know, an earthquake in the basement of your skull. The first time was worse. The first time I had like a big episode where it was like basically a stroke, because I had like 10 supposed Bell palsy things that happen, and they'd give me prednisone, and then it would happen again. They'd give me prednisone like a million times. It made me gain massive amounts of weight, like 60 pounds, and that made the pressure even worse in my head. So if you get Bell's palsy more than once, it's more than likely it's not from a virus, and you could have intracranial hypertension. So, you know, if you have that happen to you, you know, you could be out of the loop. It's kind of very easy to tell if you're having a leak, because like I showed you, it's all over my floor. Leaks out of your nose. I mean, it's just a constant drippy, clear, tear-like liquid. It doesn't taste metallic to me, but then again, like I said, I lost my sense of taste and smell, and that could alter it. But when I still had a little bit of taste and smell with the first leak, it still tasted like sweet and sour, like some kind of sweet, you know, saline solution, I want to say, like a Pedialyte or something like that. You know, and it started leaking again back on October 13th, 2019. So I've been leaking for about five months now. It's just getting worse and worse, 5 or 6 months. And I did like I did in the first video, and I know it's not the not kosher way to do it, but I took my glucose meter and I tested it, and the first time it was only like 63, which is high because it should be under 30, you know, but then my doctors are like, well, you know, that's not a reliable method. You have to get a beta-2 transfer and blah, blah, blah. I know that, but it worked for me the first time, and I kept testing it, and the more that it cracked, the more that it dripped, the higher the numbers got. And it's nothing like the blood from my finger. The blood from my finger is like 89. In my head, it was going up to like 123. So, you know, and there's no blood in there. It's just clear tears. So when I went to the doctor again, and I'm like, well, I have another leak. And she goes, well, how do you know? You haven't had a test. And I'm like, well, I tested it with the glucose meter. And she's like, well, you know, it's been proven that doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. So she made me leak into a test tube. They sent it away. I go back to the neuro-ophthalmologist, who's like, well, you know, they don't find a leak on your CAT scan. You got to really watch yourself, because they try and kill you, I swear to God. He was looking at a CAT scan from 2 years ago, right after my surgery. So, of course, I didn't have a leak. I'm like, dude, look at the date. You know, it's 2020, not 2018. And then he's like, well, I said, well, I had a beta-2 transferrin test. Why don't you look that up and see what the results are? And it came out detected. So regardless of whether the glucose meter is not a reliable method, it is a reliable method for me, because 2 out of 2 times that I had it and went and got it tested, it came out positive. So I'm on 100% winning streak with that right there. You still have to go get the beta-2 transferrin test, because it's the only test that really, really shows if it's 100% brain fluid, you know. And that's the golden ticket for you to get fixed. So you need to get that test. What I'm just saying is, I use that method to convince myself, because in the beginning, when you start leaking, you really don't know. It's intermittent. Sometimes it'll happen when you're sleeping. Sometimes when you lay down, it might come out of your ear. If you bend over, you might just think, you know, you have allergies because it's allergy season, you know, but as it starts leaking more, it gets worse. And that test with the glucose meter has both leaks been 100% sure with me. So that's all I could really say. You know, I don't know how they fix the dura mater. I think what they're basically doing is, when you have a sewer leak in the street and they go and patch over asphalt over the street, but they don't fix the leak in the sewer, eventually wherever the weakest part in the street is, you're going to get sinkholes. That's basically what happens in my head. They can't really find the leak per se. They fixed it on the side where the bone was eroded. But since I do have a herniation that was not able to be fixed the last time because my skull base was still solid, and they didn't want to break it, they just kind of said, we'll watch and see. That eventually eroded down because that's probably where the leak is. I mean, if that's where the original herniation is or the original tear in the dura mater, of course it would leak again if you fix this side if the leak is over here. So now it's over here. Hopefully this time when I go in and get surgery, they'll be able to find the leak somewhere and patch it up, because otherwise this is like a 3-year thing. You know, every 3 years you're going to be going back and getting surgery if they don't find the original leak and seal it up. And you know, I don't know how they would even seal that up because it's on your brain. So you know, I know they use like fat and fascia, and then they use bone to, you know, do the skull patch. They use fibrin glue, you know, like some kind of a surgical crazy glue up there. And they use all kinds of stuff. Stitches. I mean, my first surgery, I had stitches up the nose, stitches on my throat, stitches on my stomach from them taking out the fat and the fascia. I had stitches on my back from the 2 lumbar drains that they put all the way up to your ventricles to drain out all the green dye that they, you know, inject into your head so they could find where the leak is. And they kind of told me that they didn't find the leak around the first time. They just patched it up, and I did really good. Unfortunately, when you have a leak and you work in construction, it can leak again. So now, you know, that kind of shoots me in the foot because I have up my own hardwood flooring business, and I cannot go physically do that job anymore. I have to stand back and be just the administrator. And, you know, I'm a physical on the job kind of a person. So I'm going to do a new adventure and do my Hidden Goddess soap company and just start hanging out a lot at home, making my own soaps and candles. And that's what I'm doing now. You see, now I've had this in my nose a while. It's, you see, you can see it dripping out. So, yeah, you know, when I don't have another one handy, I just wring it out and stick it back in. Now, you don't want to get a cold when you have this, you know, because even though it's leaking down, it's not as dangerous as like if the hole was like up, you know, like if you had a problem where the herniation was going up into your brain as opposed to coming down through your sinus. But still, you can get meningitis if somebody has a cold or whatever because the brain barrier has been broken. So I've been pretty lucky. I'm all right. I don't really go out a lot right now when I'm leaking because I can't stay up too much. When I'm cooking, I literally have to go and lay back down and then get up and like go over and do more stuff. Sorry, I'm cooking away, so let me turn this off. So that's about it. I just wanted to show you that. I know I look really terrible, but you know what? My head is leaking, and it is what it is. But, you know, it's survivable. It's doable. It's irritating. It causes a lot of nerve damage, so, you know, and it's very hard to get diagnosed with this. I have so many people that I know in our groups that they, you know, they leak intermittently. They try to get Pledget test where they stick these little cotton things up your nose to see if, you know, you leak over 6 hours. And, you know, some people, they leak out of the back of their throat because it's cervical. Some people have it in their spine with Tarlov cyst. I have Tarlov cyst in my spine too. That's causing its own interdimensional problems as it is with like nerve damage, me not being able to feel my bladder per se, and it gives me like reflux on my kidney on the left side. So like when I lay down, the urine will like go back up towards the kidney, and that's giving me constant bladder infections all the time, you know. And that's like a Tarlov CFS cyst that's on my spine somewhere that's just full of nerves, and sometimes it's hard to sit down. Like it feels like I broke my tailbone. It's hard to explain. Like if I sit down on something hard, I can't get back up again because I feel like if you ever fell like on the ice flat on your tailbone, that's kind of what it feels like. So I just take Epsom, baths, and because you're thinking that's eroding the bone in your spine too. So yeah, it's not fun to think about that stuff, but when I think about it, I'm like, wow, you know, I'm gonna make a 10 things that I learned with this second leak, because now I'm kind of an expert on this. And I'll do that video a little bit later, probably before my surgery. My surgery will probably wind up being within the next week or so. But I'd like to sit down and write things out with questions that people would ask me, like, and tell them how my experience has been. I'm not a doctor, but I have been through this quite a few times, and I've been around a lot of doctors. And I'm in this documentary that right now it's not showing in the United States. It's in the UK. So anybody that are my followers for, like, in Europe, it's in UK, France, Germany, and it's in Canada showing right now. It hasn't been. It's supposed to be going to like Discovery or Discovery Health down here, but it's a show called My Misdiagnosis. You can look it up, Google it. I think there's a way that you could see the shows from overseas in the United States online. I'm in episode 8. Each show has like 2 different people that had crazy things happen to him or her, and they were misdiagnosed, and all of a sudden when they got diagnosed, it was like completely the opposite. That's what happened to me. There's other people that had way worse things, that like their whole entire life, like they thought they had cerebral palsy, and then all of a sudden they had some kind of, I don't know, vitamin deficiency. They gave them some kind of a medication, and all of a sudden they were able to walk again after like 40 something years. That's amazing. I just have this annoying condition that, you know, it brings, you shake, so you feel like you have something between multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's, and sometimes you can't walk. You lose your cranial nerves, and you know, so you get like neurodegenerative problems. The worst thing you could do is you could lose your eyesight, but my doctors are like so on top of that will never happen. You just have to make sure you have to go and see them and get your vision field tests, and you know, have them check your optic nerves and take pictures and all that good stuff. All right, my loves, I just wanted to show you what it's like in the day of a leak, and if you're wondering why I'm like not out and about and the way I usually am, it's because I really can't be up that long. When you're leaking that much, you got to lay down so your brain can kind of, otherwise it dries out. It's like SpongeBob stepping out of the ocean, and you're just like, ah! That's kind of what it feels like when you're up too long. Your heart starts like palpitating really fast, because it's like in 911 emergency, like lay down, lady, and plus you get like this horrible headache. So I don't go around anywhere around people or noise or anything right now until I get this fixed. I'm gonna finish cooking dinner because the people in this house have to eat, and my dog has to say hi, Pinky. She's chilling out on the on the cup. All right. Have a good one, my loves, and I'll make another video to tell you those top 10 things I learned with this. See you later. Bye.